Hello guys, and welcome to a live commentary video where I'm going to be taking a look at Battlefield 5, the state of it and really where it's going into the future. Now, I've done plenty of videos in the past looking at bugs in Battlefield and things I dislike, cheaters, the lack of maps, the lack of content, etc, etc. But I feel as if in this one I'm going to take a slightly different approach, and whilst I will reference some problems that are in the game and talk about what I think DICE can do to improve them, I'm really going to relate it to the franchise, because I think that's really what we should be looking at the minute. It's not just about how Battlefield 5 performs, it's about how the next game performs, because before you know it, the next game is out. I was actually just taking a look back at Battlefield 1 the other day and thinking to myself, this really didn't come out that long ago, 2016. That feels just a few days ago, to be honest, and whilst I realise it was quite a few years ago, Battlefield 1 wasn't really around for that long before we moved on to the next game and started getting hyped up for what the next Battlefield would be. Now, I'm not too sure really what DICE are planning to do with Battlefield 5. Are they going to stick with it for a few more years as a live service, or are they going to move on to the next game? And I assume at the minute a lot of resources have been pumped into that new game. I don't know anything about it, which is a real shame. I wish I did. Even if I couldn't share it, it would be nice personally to know what direction we're going in, but I really don't know. My best guess is probably a modern style combat, maybe Cold War. A lot of people were saying Cold War would be cool, and I think a Cold War gone hot scenario would be super satisfying to play. All of the weapons would be familiar. There's not really too much you can do that would annoy the player base because it's just a great setting, and as long as it was more Battlefield 3 and 4 with the best parts of BF1 and 5 kind of put in there, I think we'd all be happy. Now, the gameplay you see in the background for this one is the Gewehr 1.5 on Grand Operations. I went 124 for 12 in this. It's probably one of my best infantry rounds on the game, and I was thinking I might upload it and do a bit of a tips and tricks video, but to be honest, most of you guys have probably already got to grips with everything in BF5, and I would just say that this is one of the best weapons in the game for pub stomping. Public matches where you just want to be taking out lots of enemy players. This is the weapon you want to use. A friend of mine, Enders, who streams all the time, uses it. He's an absolute god at this game and he makes it look good, so I thought I'd give it a crack, and trust me, with the 3x scope on, you can't really go wrong. The only problem you'll have is trying to use meds, because of course, attrition, you can't regen like you can in other games, and you're not a medic, so you do rely on teammates and resupply stations. Now, that's an interesting point, I suppose, to start with. Attrition. That was a massive thing when Battlefield 5 came out. Attrition. Everyone was thinking this is going to be like a hardcore Battlefield. We're going to go back to the Battlefield 2 days, and whilst I never played Battlefield 2, I am told it was a slower paced game. Lots more strategy, I suppose, involved squad gameplay, team play, all these buzzwords that DICE like to use. And then things changed with Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 and 4. And even 1, I suppose, being a bit more arcadey. So it was a chance for DICE to go back and really look at this new kind of experience, what Battlefield used to be at its core, and really what a lot of players loved. They didn't really do that though, and Battlefield 5 seems to be half-baked in some situations, with Attrition being the best example. It's not quite hardcore, and it's not quite, you know, the easy, casual style self-regen that a lot of people like to say. Personally, I don't think self-regen is casual at all. I think it is what it is. We're playing an arcade game. It's all about fun, and fun is what should rule a decision in the studio. If we're looking at something like Attrition, could it potentially have been a separate hardcore mode where a lot of people that love this gameplay could go in and play this hardcore Battlefield experience? I personally think that would have been a better way around it, instead of having Attrition that doesn't quite work for the hardcore fans, and also doesn't quite work for those that liked what we had in Battlefield 3, 4 and 1. The same can be said for the removal of spotting. It's gone, but has it really gone? I still see it with the MMGs using this passive spot. Tanks can spot, planes can spot, and even the recons can spot. This means that you're in a situation where nothing is quite what we were promised, but at the same time, DICE are clearly trying to do what the community wants. They're torn between things. They don't know exactly what we want as a community, and that's the trouble a lot of studios have. Do you follow what the community want? Because you'll end up with a million different answers. On the one hand, you'll have players that really love BF3, and on the other hand, you'll have players that hated it. There are players out there, including myself, that do not like the Operation Metro Meat Grinder experience. I'm happy it's in the game because other people love it, but personally, it's not something I play. So this is the conundrum DICE have. Where do we go next with the game? And with Modern Warfare, that's of course Call of Duty's next addition to the franchise coming out, they're really stuck because they've got to have something that combats Call of Duty. Call of Duty won't kill Battlefield, there's no way that'll happen. The only way Battlefield will die is if EA or DICE really take it in completely the wrong direction. Call of Duty Modern Warfare will be extremely popular. I will cover it on my channel to some extent. I'm not too sure how I'll go about it, but I do want to bring some more Call of Duty content to the channel. The thing is though, DICE are probably going to go modern. If they go modern, then they're head-to-head with Call of Duty. Call of Duty is going to have large game modes, vehicles. They're taking a step in a different direction, I suppose. So it's a risk for them, but at the same time, it's a risk for DICE. What are they going to do? Are they going to try and rewrite stuff, reinvent the wheel, and bring something new to the table in this FPS genre? Or are they going to do what I think they should do, and go back to what worked in the past? Make us another Battlefield 4, but with all the bugs fixed, and all the weapons slightly more balanced, and things that didn't work sorted out. Bring back the best maps that people enjoyed. Have 10 maps on release. Have DLCs that people can buy, and maybe have DLCs that don't limit what people can play. For example, have a DLC where all the maps are free, but the other things aren't, so we pay for maybe a season pass that allows us to have new cosmetics, new things like that. But for people that want to play just modes and maps and don't care about that stuff, they just buy the base game and get it all. There's a way around this sort of stuff where it can please everybody, and I feel as if Battlefield 5 attempted to do a really good thing with the live service, but then with Boynes coming out, the company coin issue, all of this stuff, it's just really not very good in all honesty, and it's not been executed in a professional way, I suppose. But DICE will have learned from this, and I doubt they'll make the same mistake in the next game. I really can't see them doing that. Now, I did say at the start of this video I wouldn't go into bugs, but I'll just mention a few things. I think the previous few patches have been positive for Battlefield. There are some issues that are still in the game, and Shroud streamed the game the other day. I actually tweeted out one of his clips from his stream where he was subject to quite a few bugs, and they're not bugs that have been fixed, they're bugs that have been in the game since the start. There's loads of stuff that's in the game that has been there since the start, and it's very disappointing to see such a competent studio like DICE, who've made so many great games, struggle with a game like this. And I think it's simply down to the fact that it was made in record time. I think they made this game in 12 months. That was the recent figure that went round. 12 months to make a game like this. I heard at first it was 18, maybe 2 years, but recently someone said 12 months, and you can see it in the game. It's got a lot of stuff with potential, a lot of things that make a lot of sense, but at the same time, a lot of things that have been rushed. And maybe you can see that with the maps, but most noticeably with the bugs and some of the game modes. They haven't got the polish and the time spent in them that we saw with BF1. And that really does hurt the game. This links us into maps and updates as well, I suppose. Battlefield 5 is on track to be on par with Battlefield 1 in terms of the amount of maps we've seen, but the way they've come out hasn't really been the same. Al Sandan has been promised for quite some time. They've run into issues. We don't have it on Conquest. We've had lots of new modes come out like Grind and Fortress and things like that, but then they've been taken away. And even some of those new modes had the maps redesigned, like Grind on Twisted Steel had that really interesting underpass, and that's been gone for months. Having that in the game and then keeping it in the game could have been quite good for Battlefield 5. Firestorm really wasn't what everybody wanted it to be, but again, it's additional content. I can't complain at additional stuff, but just all in all, it doesn't really do what Battlefield 1 did. When a DLC came out for BF1, I was really excited. There was loads of hype. There was testing on the community servers. Everybody got involved and started posting things. And in Battlefield 5, it feels as if we're being drip-fed stuff that might as well not be there and then drop it all in one go. I don't know, swings and roundabouts, to be honest. If you can't win doing it one way, you probably won't win doing it the other. One thing I would say, though, is that my group of friends played Battlefield 5 extensively for around 200 hours. Loads of us did. A few people dropped out and didn't really like the game, but for the most part, we had a group of around 5 or 10 players that just played for a load of hours. 200 hours, I suppose, 300 hours I think I've had out the game. Maybe I might be up to 400, I don't really know. But for the last few weeks, I haven't played it, and there's a reason for that. The content that we have is okay, but the bugs that haven't been fixed are super frustrating. I still get stutters. I still get invisible players from time to time. It's not as bad, or anywhere near as bad as it used to be. I still play on maps where audio is weird and I can't hear stuff behind me. My game stutters with assignments and sometimes on its own. I get these really odd graphical glitches on some maps. Sometimes it'll just be a pain to play. And that's the problem. If the game can't do the basics right, then all of these updates, maps, content and all the rest aren't going to really address those issues in themselves. But the recent updates have been good, so there is hope, I think, for that to be fixed. Cheaters is something else that has seen a bit of a positive turn from my perspective, and in my opinion the developers have started to take a more active approach to sorting this out. That being said, in Asia, I know a lot of people who watch this video from Asian servers or who play on Asian servers are struggling, and with the Pacific coming out, what are you going to do when this massive Pacific update, I say massive with fingers crossed, this drops? All of these Asian players are so happy to have this in the game. It's what they've wanted. I've spoken to some people over YouTube and Twitter, through social media, even some Asian content creators that are just loving this update. They think it's going to be great. And then there are cheaters in all the servers. It doesn't matter how many maps you have. If there are cheaters, it's all ruined. So that's another big thing that DICE need to address, I suppose. And they are making positive steps. But no cheaters, please, in Battlefield 5. It would be really nice. They're not as bad as they used to be. I think it's definitely been an improvement. But when that Pacific update drops, I'm told in Asian servers that cheating will just take off because there's that hype around the game. Cheaters come back in numbers. DICE really need to be on it for that. Another thing in this game that has been a hot topic recently are MMGs and the proning meta. Now there are three arguments I think with this. Firstly, people love it. They think it's realistic. They think MMGs should be going prone, should be holding down angles and holding down parts of the map. Okay, fair enough. That's maybe what you think. There's another argument saying that why are MMGs always going prone? Why not just have it like we had in other Battlefield games? Yes, you can use a bipod, but you don't have to. A bipod will offer you a bit more accuracy maybe, a bit more of a platform to play on, and maybe the bipod will make the gun better. But not insanely good, and it's not the only option for you. And finally, you have the people that just don't care. They get on with it, they don't like them, they don't really hate them, they don't really use them, it's just not a problem for them, they think it's part of the game and they move on. And fair dues to those people for actually being able to deal with it. Now I'm on the team that doesn't like bipods. I don't like them in Battlefield, I don't like them in Battlefield 5 in particular. I feel as if they promote the wrong style of gameplay and they really ruin a lot of modes and maps. That being said, there are ways that DICE could improve what we have in Battlefield 5, maybe making it better for people like me that hate them, but also a compromise so people that enjoy using them can still enjoy using bipods. A few things I think we should get rid of. Being able to prone whilst on your back. That shouldn't be a thing, it's not realistic at all, you can't do that in real life. Pop a bipod out and stick it on your legs and start firing, that's not going to happen. And the realism argument doesn't even make any sense anyway, because these weapons are often used with multiple people and not one person running around with an MG34 in one hand. Come on, that's not really something that we see in real life. So we should be going for what is best for the game, what is best for gameplay and what is fun. And having a balance between the two is important. Battlefield 1 had the mechanic where the longer you fired, the more accurate you got, meaning you couldn't drop shot people with the MMGs. That would be interesting to see. And also having the ability to ADS with some of these MMGs and therefore nerfing some of the fire rates of them could be an interesting approach. I don't know, I'm not a game designer or a developer, I don't know what is the best way to approach this, but what I would say is there is a compromise to be found, and currently Battlefield 5 isn't there. So thanks for watching this bit of a update video on my opinions on Battlefield 5, where I think it is, what I think DICE need to do. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think Battlefield 5 is in need of some serious work before this Pacific update? Do you think it's really worth working on? Or are we in a position where we should be looking at the next game and really putting all our eggs in one basket that DICE get the next game just right, whether it be in 2020 or 2021? Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, a dislike if you didn't, and leave a comment down below as well. And I'll catch you in the next video.